Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Qdabra's weekly webinar. We are back after a couple-week hiatus. We have wonderful new innovations from our innovator-in-chief, Ailmel Clemente, today. She has done more in the last 2 years to make great designs for your forms than I think anyone else here. And I'm really happy to introduce today's webinar. But first, let's do a quick, my name is Patrick, by the way, you know that. Let me quickly launch our poll here. We got a quick question for you. Which of the following innovations are you most interested in today? We have a new cards design, which is very similar to the SharePoint design for cards. And Mel, I don't know if you can hear me okay. Hopefully you can, but it might be useful to click on the admin screen to show them a kind of a SharePoint out-of-box card design on their web pages. And can you hear me okay, Mel? Your audio is weird. So it looks like we've got, most people are saying, yeah, the second technique that we're going to talk about today is this new UI for repeating tables, which is just fabulous. I'm so happy that Mel, I don't know how you did so many innovations, Mel, in the last month, but it's really impressive. The new pop-up toast is also a wonderful way to say cheers to your users out there. And then there's a little bit of weird audio, Mel. I don't know if you can hear me okay or not, but it's kind of like amplifying or something. Does my voice okay?
Yeah, your voice is okay. Is it on my side?
Well, it must be because nobody else is on the unmute. But yeah, let's just continue and see if it clears up. Maybe, probably won't. But the fourth technique is this new dark mode, which is also a really nice, easy addition. And it looks like everyone's saying all of the above, so that's great. So let's switch to the next slide, Mel, if you don't mind. I guess you're not sharing anymore. Are you there? Mel, you're muted.
Thought I was sharing. Can you see my screen?
I thought you were too, but for whatever reason. Okay, now I can see it. Great. Let's go to the second slide. So happy belated Mother's Day to all of you out there. Last Sunday, of course. And I know that most of us celebrate our own mothers, but the real mother is, I guess, Earth, or maybe the sun. But this is the mother at the center of the Milky Way galaxy, which was just photographed yesterday. Looks like the Eye of Sauron, Lord of the Rings, but it's actually the event horizon for the 60 million mile wide black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy, which, as you know, is the mother of our small solar system. So these are all the stars that are getting sucked into the black hole. That's the event horizon. It's very unclear because it's so far away. It's not because we're showing you a bad res image. It's just that's the actual photograph, believe it or not. Thanks, Mel. Let's go to the next slide. There's still buzzing in the background. It's kind of like a power cord thing. I don't know if you can remove that or something, but it's still there a bit. So we're talking about these four techniques today, and let's go to the next slide. And yes, and I'm going to stop talking here after this slide. But in general, the goal here is to improve the way your forms look, make them easier to use, and of course, give your users high five boosts, which is a great way for thanking them for filling out your form. So Mel, with that, I think I'll hand off to you.
Thank you, Patrick. How's my audio? Is the buzzing still present?
A little bit, but let's just try to make it work.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I'd like to demo first. So these are the house, and we're going to go back to these later. But for now, show you our latest innovation. This is our internal timesheet here, and this idea. All these came from this form, actually. We're trying to improve our internal processes here, and here you can see that it's nothing looking like a form. It's actually looking like a real web page here with the left navigation pane in here that I can toggle. We've got image icons, and these are actually not picture buttons. These are Google material icons, and I guess that's for another webinar topic. But I can expand, or I can, yeah, click on the hamburger icon here, and the icons here, or the entire navigation page, just collapses like that. And I can still click on these icons to get to wherever I want. And you can see that the rounded corners there that just flows through the icons there. And down here, I can talk more about that later. Let's just navigate back, or show the navigation pane back there. And yeah, so what else here? We're using cards, and that's also one of the highlights of today's webinar. So these are individual cards, and this is a gigantic card down here. More stuff in here, liking and commenting, showing, these emojis and whatnot. But yeah, enough with that. Oh yeah, let's show you one last thing, this dark mode here. If I toggle here, so everything just turns into dark mode, and this is really good for those who have, sensitive eyesight and what have you. And everything here is color coordinated. Whenever you see, you don't see anything bright anymore, or very light anymore. So things are like interchanged, colors are interchanged. All right. So let's jump into the house of this. So what I did is I created a simple form here, because we cannot like ship our internal one. That's really, there's really a lot going on there. So this is a simple form that I came up with. All the goodies are here. There's this hoverable multi buttons, which I didn't show in our timesheet. But here, when I hover over this field, it shows you these action buttons. So I can click on these individually, and it does, each of these does the action that I have, the rules that I have in there. And I just have the prompt showing for each of them, just to show you that there are rules, and the rules are working. So again, if I'm not hovering, they're hidden. And then if I hover over them, they show up. So that's also saving some real estate in your form, right? So again, these three sections here are cards, and here we have our pop-up toast. If I click on here, it shows our success message, and I can continue on the form even though that pops up at the side there. So it's useful when I submit a form and or save a form, and I'd like to continue working. I won't have to click OK and stop my work whenever there's a prompt. Here is where we're showing an error. So we've created an XDP for you that is very easy to configure, less than 5 minutes, and you get your pop-up toast working in your forms. And then here's the dark mode. So when I toggle, it switches me to dark mode, and my logo there isn't showing. Let's refresh there. I last minute added a white version over a logo. Yep, there now it shows. So if I toggle this one, it changes, my logo also changes to white, as opposed to like so. So things are just inverted, the colors. Okay. So how are we going to do this? How do we do this, right? So here's our starter template. This one has nothing in it. It's just a blank template here. So I'd like to, teach everybody to really get comfortable in designing their forms in such a way that, it's very innovative and whatnot. So let's start from scratch here. What we're going to do, let's just go back to our slide here. We're going to add the XDP. We created 2 XDPs for you, the pop-up toast and the dark mode. Then these are the CSS and the JavaScript files that we need to add as resource files. And I'm going to talk more in detail about these later. And then we just test and update or customize our colors according to however we want.
So Mel, the XTP, for those that don't understand or don't know what that acronym means, XML template parts are a quick way to add common logic, data connections, view components, and fields to your form. Those 4 items are included in the XTP. We have an XTP in the Forms Designer Mills showing in the InfoPath Designer today because we haven't added these new. These are so new. These XTPs are so fresh off the burner that we haven't added them yet to the Forms Designer, which we just shipped 1.0 last 2 weeks ago actually. So we're very happy about that. We'll talk more about that at the end, but I just want to clarify that. Thanks, Mel.
Yeah, thank you. So, all right, here's our blank canvas there. I've got the logos and all the stuff going on. I've already added the XML template part, it's the XTP, into my custom controls here. But what you're going to do is click on here to add it into your InfoPath Designer. All right, so just template part and browse to where you save it. But again, I've already added that. So I'm just going to click on here and select my, let's start with the Qt Popup Toast XTP. So it's just this little section here. I haven't added the instructions inside the XTP, but I can just do that real quick later before we ship the samples to you. So what you're going to do is this inside container, the inner container, just drag it out of the main container here, right? And then if you click on here, it takes you to the Popup Toast group in the main data source. Just delete that. You're not going to need that anymore. And then let's just adjust this here. Okay, then this is now unbound, so you can delete that. You no longer need that. So it's the intersection that you need. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is go to your Qdabra rules, data source, go to finished loading, and just add a new rule to load the Qt Popup Toast files because they're already there. They are built in. So all you need to do is set your command, or sorry, set the XTP actions, load files into something that will trigger. So we use Go to trigger rules in there. So now if I go there, and look at that node, what it does is it just, again, loads the swap class, JavaScript, the JavaScript for the Popup Toast itself, and then the styles, the CSS file. And then there are fonts that I'm using in that. There are this Poppins font, and then the material icons, which are actually text icons. Yeah. That makes sense. So that's loading the files. And then lastly, we just need to set this temp command to actually point to your Qdabra rules command node. So that was a temporary field since we don't want you adding, Q rules twice from the XCP and into your form. So that will make your life easier. I think that's actually it. We need a way to display these error messages. So you're gonna imagine this as your form having a submit or save and submit button, right? So we're going to add a button. I'm going to just say save. And then, so what you need to do in your existing save buttons in your forms is just set the value of the XTP logic actions, show success message to go. Just trigger that, and that will show the success message. Of course, your form would have rules that will save actually in an actual library or database or what have you. So you need some checks there to determine if it really succeeded or not. So say you have a condition here, if the save was succeeded, right, then show the success message. Otherwise, let's just add another button here that it's to show or to demo that there is an error. So I'm just going to do show error. All right, so here, instead of setting this field, we set show error message to go. Okay, now let's save this. So I'm just going to save this as Papa. Maybe send it to you in the package as well so you can refer to them individually. Okay, now let's open this. As soon as it's done uploading, it should be fast. My connection is terrible today, it looks like. So yeah, so you already saw something peep there. So if I save here, there you have our success message. And if I click here, there we have our error message. So again, it's up to you to add handling to that when you want to show the error, when you want to show the success message. But one thing you notice, it was showing inside here instead of we wanted to show outside here. Why that happened is because we added this XDP inside this container section. So you just need to drag it out of your actual container section, wherever that is. So here, I know that this is my form footer, and I know that I'm showing this debug section just when clicking, right? You can actually even put it outside of here, as long as it's not inside a contained section, just like I have here. This is actually a card that's contained. So now that I put that outside, let's just try this one more time to make sure that I'm not, you know, I'm not crazy. So just one time
We know you're
here.
crazy. That's a good thing, actually.
Is it? All right, now we've got that outside. Okay, so that's a pop-up section. Let's see what else do we have there. That's a demo one. We did all these, and again, I'm going to update the XCP to show the steps, but should be easy, less than 5 minutes. So for the second demo, the hoverable button. So we saw that working in our sample here, this guy. So all right, we didn't create an XCP for this. What we're going to do is we're going to send this sample XSN, so we can just simply copy this section. This is where the hoverable multi-button, this is what I'm calling it, is. So we copy it and click Control-C there, and let's go back to our sample form here. Okay, I guess I'm just going to add it underneath here. So I paste it. Now that section, all of these sections are unbound, as you can see here, it says unbound. So we just need to bind them to our form data source. So let's try to avoid always binding to the main data source. For some reason, there are some performance issues that I encounter myself. So I like to, for these, specifically, these do not necessarily need to go to the main data source. So I just bind them to any XML data source that I have. So now it's bound to form logic, and everything inside it also needs to be rebind. So I'm just going to keep changing binding here. So as long as you don't see any more unbound, so like this is still unbound, I need to rebind that to that guy. Okay, so this field is coming from that other template as well. I'm going to delete that and actually put my form field in there. So let's just go with field 2 so we know that it's different. Okay, so now that that's there, the next thing is to add the CSS. So the CSS is going to, how you add it is you go into the data tab, resource files. Actually, I have it here already. Let's remove that. That's the one you want to add. So let's add, it's going to be in the samples folder that we will send you. So this is the one we want. Click OK. And then, of course, we want to load this when the form opens. So you've got the name and go to Qdabra rules, finish loading. So you can create a new rule here. Doesn't matter. So I'm just going to separate these rules so you can see. All right, so set a fields value. When loading resource files, it's just setting the command to load resource. /name is the parameter and the name of your file. So I pasted that. So I think that is it. Actually, we don't have any rules here. We're not going to add, but it's up to you what you want to add in there. But this one, let's save it. So for time's sake, we're just shortcutting things here, multi-button, and then yeah, we'll talk about what to do if you don't have 4 buttons. All right, now if I hover, it's already there, but it's cut out.
Mel, can you show the timesheet again with the table hover over? Because I think this technique is really useful when they're trying to discover how to edit a table. Like, yeah, just go into the.
I need to refresh. Yeah, it's coming from a different site. Yeah, you were saying.
Well, with repeating tables. Sometimes users, like we used to have this widget a long time ago with InfoPath, where they have to hover over it, click it. It was really hard to discover how to edit tables in InfoPath. It's a little bit better in Form Zero, but only if you add buttons yourself. And this kind of, yeah, that's great. So this is really useful when you're in a repeating table and you want to reorder something or delete something. It just makes it a lot easier. And we're using this for our weekly task ordering, prioritization, and so on. But you can see how much more discoverable that is for your users, as opposed to the previous widgets that we had a long time ago. So that's all I wanted to say. Thanks, Mel.
Yeah, so you notice there I only have 3 icons. What's going to happen here in the last icon, because I don't want to show the sort down when it's the last item, there is going to be a gap in there because the like the dimensions are fixed in this technique. And here you notice that it's cut off because again, this my container section is like occupying, or it's just limited to my container section. To fix that, I need to just add paddings in here, I guess. Yeah, let's try and fix that. I'm just gonna do maybe 20 each here so that we can give our icons more room to sort of expand. But if we look at the, yeah, let's just update real quick. Let me get an error here because I loaded another, yeah, instance. So refreshing real quick for you. And feel free to change the picture buttons as well. Those are just, what I used. So, okay, still the same. So we'll find out how to adjust those icons to fit in whatever container section you have. But we look at this, if I just show inspect, right, in your inspector, if I enable, I can see that section real quick. It's hard to, yeah, read. So I'm just going to enable hover and check this box. So now we can see those temporarily displayed. So what we have here is we have those four buttons, right? 1, 2, 3, and this last one. So if we look at the properties here, they are set to show left in a certain position, right, and top. So if I look at the CSS for that, it's going to look like this. And it's a little intimidating, but you don't have to touch these. So here, if I have some notes, if there's one child or one button, then this will be the position. There are 2 children. This is going to be for the first one. This is going to be for the second one. So I spent time in trying to make it dynamic or, less work, even if however many buttons you have. But the best I could come up with is to just disable the button if you don't, if you don't want it to be clicked by users. Because I was hoping that I could hide in conditional formatting, right? If I don't, or if I don't want to allow users to be able to edit things like that, I don't want to show this pencil icon. But then if I just set it to hide, it's still like going to be an empty spot in there. So the best that I can come up with is to just disable it in that case. Okay. So yeah, that's for that. Going back to our presentation. That's it for the hoverable buttons. Add the CSS. Our form already have swap class, so I didn't need to add that. Copy the section and rebind. Okay. Okay. Now for the cards, we are including this CSS. It's yet another CSS file, flex and grid, and then this again the swap class. And again, for those who don't know or who are wondering what this file is for, it's just swapping the screen tips here that we have here. If I go to the section properties, we have the screen tips here. So these aren't usually being used in our forms when we're designing. So we took advantage of that and created a JavaScript, the swap class.js, to change this, use these screen tips as classes instead. So that way we can play around with them and come up with our own CSS or design. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the cards. So let's add the, it's not in here yet, the flex and grid CSS file, this one. All right, and let's just again rename just to copy the name, and need to load that again when the form finishes loading. So load flexing grid. Set the command node, load resource. Name is styles flexing grid. So what I'm going to do is create a new, is this our template? Yeah, it is. Okay, I'm just going to create a new card for our hoverable section here. So notice that I added that along with the save and show error buttons like so. So they are in one card. I want to separate them. So this the section that contains them has the My Card screen tip. So I just want to copy that and paste. So now I have two copies. I'm going to remove these buttons on here. I only want to have my multiple buttons in here. So let's title these, giving title. And at the top there, I'm going to remove this and show pop up. Okay, so let's make sure that I'm doing the right thing. That's my card. Okay, and this one, the section holding this is also my card. Okay, so we've got that settled, but we need another container section that holds both of those sections. So here I dragged my submission group. I'm going to call this my card box. So this will have those two sections. And then let's take a look at our.
Did you spell it right, Mel?
Yep. Did I?
CRB.
Card. There we go. Nice catch. Good catch. So my card box. So here is the styles flex and grid.css. It's just 13 lines here. You can specify if a section is going to be displayed as a grid here, display grid, and then or flex, sorry, that's too big. Or flex, displayed as flex. So if I want this, my card box to be shown as grid, let's go with grid. So what I'm going to do is I'll just do my underscore grid. Okay. So simple as that. That's going to call that selector already in my, from my CSS. So now I'm going to drag these two sections, place them inside my card box. Okay. And just delete any extra spaces in here. Okay, and let's see if that works. So I'm gonna save this as cards. And upload. And if you have any questions, just use the question box there. Now you see these two sections separate like magic, showing each as cards. And let's check our pop-up toast still working. So again, that was displayed as our card box now is displayed as grid. And if you're curious how that happened, here is the grid section that we added the card box. If we look at the CSS here, it is using this style to display them as grid. And if I just duplicate one of these cards, like this one is the pop-up one, right? If I hover over, you see that on the left, it's showing you which section it is in the canvas there. If I right click on this div section and duplicate, there's going to be 3 of them, but they are still displayed as cards, and it can go on like however many you have cards you have or sections you have, it will just occupy my entire form like so. But I haven't tried this, I haven't tested this, but if I want to show them in 2 rows, for example, let's just try it on the fly here. What I need to do, I think, is to say grid template rows. Let's do, I think it's going to be 1 FR, 1 FR. That didn't do anything. Let's try this. Yeah, I should have prepared for, showing you 2 rows, like 4 by 2, something like that. That gets crazier, but that's what we have for now.
In the SharePoint UI, the admin, think about the admin screen, the admin app, you can add cards. So it actually allows you to add the card with the feature that you want to administrate or whatever, or administer.
Yeah.
So maybe we will have that in our site. Our next innovation is we'll be able to add form sections or something.
Right. Lots of cool stuff to do. So that's for cards. That's it for cards. I hope that wasn't quite complex, but it can get complex, especially if you have a lot of sections already. But make use of the flex and the grid. It is powerful. Actually, the time is not enough for a webinar time to teach you or to talk about how cool flex and grids are. So yeah, dark mode. We are gonna save time for this dark mode. So to make your life easier, we created this XML template part. You just need to add it into your form and adjust your form color. So let's go back to our template here. Now I'm going to add another card so that it's separate. So I'll just copy this, I guess. And yeah. So let's call this dark mode and delete these buttons for lack of time. And we'll click on I've already added it to my custom controls, click Qt dark mode here. Here I have instructions. So again, we're gonna drag this section outside of the template part section because we don't want this guy here. Then delete the Qt dark mode section that got added in the main data source. We don't need this, delete. And then finish loading node. We run the files, I think. Yeah, set load files to go. So finish loading. This is actually the same as how we configured the Popup toast. So just set the value of, go to XDP dark mode this time, load files, go. And then in our XDP logic, go to temp command and point the stop node to your actual command node. That's it. Then we're done. We're going to delete this section. Okay. Now let's see. Reloaded. That's it, right? Not missing anything, I think. We're going to start mode and update our template.
It's a whirlwind tour of new features.
A lot of features, like 4 or 5 in one go, right? Hopefully this works.
It's amazing.
So yeah, so that XDP added this this tiny little section here, including this toggle. Yeah, there you go.
Wow, that was so fast, Mel.
Cool. So yeah, the best, I think, feature here in the dark mode, aside from it toggling the dark mode, right? This checkbox here is the only thing that is this toggle, the switch. It's just the checkbox.
It's like a new control you added.
Yeah, this one is
How'd you
just
do that?
using the checkbox and then CSS. It's also CSS.
Sweet.
Yeah. So, all right, let's show the technique, right? The XDP only has the, let me think, what the XDP does. Okay. So here it's loading the files. That's the material icon for the moon icon. That's what, and then the CSS, the actual CSS. And then here, aside from the swap class, we need the toggle class because when checking or when clicking on that switch button, it calls the custom toggle class command to add a dark class into the body. Okay, and then it switches the toggle to the right or the left when you're checking or unchecking the box. So if we show that in the inspector here, right click inspect, let's look at the body here. Okay, so this line is the body. If I click on there, if I toggle this, it adds the class dark into the body. So it's like you have full control now of your dark, of this dark class. So if we look at their CSS down here, we have a block for when body dot dark, when body is dark, then use change these variables, these colors to use a dark version of themselves, right? So if I go to our CSS file here, these are my variables here. These are my colors. And if I'm not in dark mode, these are the colors that's going to be used. Like if I, for example, let's show you, change this button color, it's using a primary color, right? This one down here, input type button, background is var primary color. If I change this to blue, like that, see it changed on the fly to blue. And then if I go to dark mode, it switches to whichever the equivalent of my blue variable is in my CSS. Like right here is, it says use this color if it's on dark mode. Okay, if I change this to something like white, that's going to change, or lighter, it's going to change because I'm on dark mode now, and whatever color I specify in that block is going to be.
So those are key for when you're flipping, because they have to have those colors to match.
Mm-hmm. That's the first thing, yes.
Okay.
And the second thing is because we already have our forms built before we do this, right? We make sure that all our colors, background color, border colors, these kind of things, are actually using those variables instead of if I change this, for example, to a specific hex value like white, that one. If I change it to, if I toggle, it's not using the dark mode color because it's not using the variable that I specified. But if I change it back to my light variable, then I can switch on and off in the dark.
You just got to make sure they match. That's right.
Yeah. That's a second. And it can be a ton of work if they have a big form and, you know, the designer, they specify their colors right here. Like I want to color this right here, right? Instead of using a CSS. So that's going to need quite a bit of work. And if you do need help, we're here. I can help you. Yeah, I think that's it.
Well, this is a great summary, Mel. Of anyone have any questions for Mel? This is really awesome stuff. We went live with the new timesheet with all these new innovations literally just yesterday, and Mel worked really hard on this. And I want to thank you, Mel, for that incredible extra effort in not only innovating but also helping us automate that process better. This is also a great summary of how FormsViewer allows you to, and Qdabra Forms in general, allow you to extend your forms with these CSS and JavaScript files, and XCPs allow you to package those files up so it's easy to deliver and add to your new forms. This is something you can't do, for example, in Power Apps. I mean, it's just they don't even support CSS or JavaScript for that matter. So there's a huge extensibility framework here if you start using these techniques, and it makes your forms look much more modern. So this is wonderful. So just in closing, we do have more webinars coming this quarter. We also have training at the end of the month, and we postponed the training. We want to make sure we have enough people to make the recording useful. And I think we have an error here in this slide. The version of, I think, and the support there, it should be 7.2 now, right, Mel?
Which one?
So yeah, right there. But yeah, so Qdabra Forms is now, we officially shipped Forms Designer 1.0. We need to start doing these webinars more with Forms Designer. Most of the training class will be on Forms Designer, and the one limitation today that we couldn't, the reason why we chose Informapath Designer was that we have one XCP right now in Forms Designer. We're planning to add dozens more over the next few years, including these new XCPs. We've got about 30 XCPs, these XML template part packages that make it easy to add features to your form. You saw a whole bunch when Mel was adding the control things, for example, like doing SMS text messaging and automatic logout, all kinds of features that we've added over the years. We tend to package them up into XCPs because it makes them easier to reuse. And those XCPs aren't all supported in Forms Designer yet, so that's why we chose to use Informapath Designer today. thanks for your patience on that. But we will be demoing in actually most of the labs, 50% or more, in this next training class coming up at the end of the month. That's May 24th, Tuesday. You can go to our website. I'm going to quickly share out and show them, Mel, where to go to register.
Mhm.
And let's see if I can do this here. So this is our education site, and you can see that we've got these upcoming webinars. So next week we're going to do a new version of the ink signature control, and all these webinars are kind of inspired by new things that are happening. In today's case, and all those new innovations. We've got the training class the week after that, so we won't do a webinar the week of the 23rd, and then we'll be doing more stuff after that. But you can also click on the classes and you can register for this class for next at the end of the month here by just clicking on this button. So you can just search for Qdabra education and then click on classes and click register, and then you can register for it. So yeah, that's it for today. I want to thank everyone for being here, and we will get this package rolled up and sent out to you by the end of the day or tomorrow. And appreciate, we've got a couple questions here at the end for the survey, and then we'll send out the package, and we hope to see you here next week. Thanks so much, Mel. It's awesome. You're awesome.
Sure, thanks, everybody. Take care.
Take care, everyone. Cheers. Have a great day. Watch out for the Eye of Sauron.